Hi, my name is Anca Nicole Ward. I'm a professional athlete. With me, I have the CEO of Pierre Elite Federation, Mr. Stewart Armstrong. Thank you so much for joining me today. A federation that is very, very close to my heart, and I think Stewart knows that. He's doing me a favor actually by joining me today, as this is my first podcast. So we're going to cover a lot of topics. But first of all, how are you, Stewart?
I'm good. With a name like Armstrong, I had to work in fitness, didn't I?
I always go, Armstrong. So what I was going to ask you today, I know obviously COVID, it's a disaster. There was no shows going on. Everything came to a stop. What are the plans for Pierre Elite for this year, first of all?
So as it stands, all shows moving forward are still booked in. And it's really just listening to see what the government say. We fall into the same category as all sports, but also all like theatre productions, West End productions, entertainment. Everything has just got to wait to see what we're told to do. I know that I've obviously spoken to yourself and I've been quite vocal sort of when people have asked me questions to be, we've got the same problem as the Premier League's got, all the way down to a local darts competition. It's a situation where we can probably all guess, and we'd probably 99% of the time be wrong. So all we can do is control what we can control. And what I can control is carry on with the shows in the future as if they're going ahead. And then at a point where it looks like they're not, things just have to get rescheduled, the same as every sport in the whole world.
That's right. And would you advise athletes like myself and like the ones are watching us right now to carry on prepping as if there is a competition coming?
Yeah, I would always say that in anything in life, health comes first. So I wouldn't want anyone to put themselves in a situation where it would be unhealthy, should I say. So I spoke with somebody that had been prepping since last year, and they were due to do April. April got pushed into June, and they messaged me going, what should I do, because I've been prepping for this long. And I just said, come off prep and come and compete in October. So have a couple of months off. Those type of things are sensible things that anyone can do. People have asked me, can they transfer into competing next year instead? Of course you can. It's really trying to find a way that we can all sort of work together. But we have to be realistic. Some people are obviously still prepping. Some people can control their environment. If you're not coming into contact with anybody, you know how to train at home, which to me is quite easy. You pick up something heavy and you put it back down again.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you can control all of that, there's no reason why you can't compete.
Cool. Talking about health, I know you are at most risk, because you have, I don't know if I can pronounce it right again. Let me see, I wrote it down somewhere. You've got, are you going to save me? Sarcoidosis?
So I've got sarcoidosis, which is an autoimmune disease.
Okay. And you've got, come on, save me.
I've got aspergillosis, which I potentially got because of the medication I take for sarcoidosis. So sarcoidosis is where your immune system is overactive. So my immune system turned on, was fighting something in my lungs and just didn't stop. And eventually it started to attack my own cells and attack my lungs. So they give you immune suppression medication to lower your immune system down to stop it from trying to kill me. And then when my immune system down, I got a fungal infection inside my lungs, which is called aspergillosis. So I'm at risk at the moment, one, because I've got lung damage, but two, because I'm on immune suppressant. So I'm at risk of any illness, whether it be from food poisoning all the way to catching flu or being near someone who's got measles, like all those
viruses. Yeah,
they're always a risk. So this is a heightened time for me, which, as no one knows, but I'll say it, I was late for this, and I was late because I've changed my sort of life around and so I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going for walks at 5, training in the morning when people aren't out and about, which now means that I live like a Mediterranean having a siesta.
Yep, because I know that you always wake up at 5 o'clock, so it's not the first time. But I've also known that you've been indoors for 3 months, just indoors without training, just basically just looking after yourself. So it must be really nice to be able to go for walks. And 5 o'clock, it's the best time because it shouldn't be anyone around there anyway.
No. You'd be surprised how many people at the moment, and maybe it's because they're the same sort of people that fall into the same category as me, because the medical advice is I'm not meant to leave the house at all. Like, well, I got a letter from the government saying you're high risk, like don't leave the house for 12 weeks. That's like prison. And don't get me wrong, there are people far worse off in the world.
3 months exactly, and 3 months was long enough. And if anything, I think the fresh air will do you really good. I mean, in London, by 12 o'clock, you see people like nothing happen.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable, and that's the scariest thing. But we're not going to go into this. Let's go to the good times. Tell us, how did Pure Elite started?
From my stubbornness, to be honest. So I used to work in London. I was basically in sales and marketing. My whole life, apart from the first 2 years, I was an accountant at Pfizer. I've worked in sales and marketing. So basically managing marketing teams, sales teams, etc. My last job was doing campaign management, managing telesales and telemarketing, and a few other departments. I had 7 or 8 departments. And I was training in the gym that Tim Chase trains in. And I have just got ill. I'd been put on medication, and the number one side effect was that you supposedly put on weight and get like a big round moon head, they call it. So I don't believe that a little tablet which had 0 calories could make me put on weight. What would make me put on weight was being inactive. So I did a 12-week cut. It was actually Chris Gethin, 12-week cut. And I did like a USN challenge. And at the end of that, I had a few photo shoots, appeared in a few sort of local papers and like British Lung Foundation. And I was like, well, what do I do now? Like, I look probably the best I've ever looked in my life. Like, I've got abs and I'm looking good, sort of thing. My fitness was really there. And I got talking to Tim Chase at the gym. Because I'd had a photo shoot at the gym, so he got talking about, etc. And he said he was doing this show, and that no one was really going to go and watch this one. And I was like, oh, I'll go. So me and Janine, who was my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, we went to watch it. And have you ever complained about something, like whether you've gone for a meal out or you've gone to an event or anything, you're just like
all the time.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I could do that better. I could do that better. So I kept going on, and Janine just looked at me and went, "We'll do it then." So I did.
So that's how Pure Elite started, and I know now that Pure Elite, it's a massive federation in UK. It also extends next year. Well, it's supposed to be this year. As you know, it was to be Romania, supposed to be Australia, but because of this disaster, everything got postponed. But I also know that you're going to do Spain and Poland as well next year. There is another part of Pure Elite that is it's very much for girls, called Diamonds.
Yes.
That your beautiful wife looks after, and she's in charge with everything. And that's growing as well. Yeah. So Diamond, do you want to explain what Diamonds is?
Okay, so the way I always explain to people, so imagine there is a straight line, and at one end you've got beauty pageants, and at the other end you've got bodybuilding. They are similar. They are, in essence, events where you get judged on your physique and or other things, okay? And fitness model shows go right in the middle. They take elements from sort of beauty pageants, and they're taking, obviously, vast elements from bodybuilding shows to make fitness model shows, which are very compelling for brands, social media, getting sponsorship, and trying to monetize yourself. I then thought that a lot of females like the beauty pageant side, but I've got either a little bit more developed physiques or like to train a little bit more. So we started Diamonds, which sits in between beauty pageants and fitness model. So it's now closer to beauty pageants. the easiest way to explain the difference is a fitness model show like Pure Elite, you're judged 70% physique, 30% stage presence, marketability, overall look, whereas Diamonds is 50-50. So it's 50% look, 50% physique.
So girls, if you want to be a beauty pageant, have a look on Diamonds, have a look at their Instagram page and see what it's all about. All I can see when I go on Diamonds is just beautiful girls with tiaras and lingerie. It's a bit like Pure Elite, but like you said, Pure Elite is mixed with bodybuilders, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah. And there's no guys there. It's just all female.
No guys, yeah. But I think I was saying to my friends at work that I think it's the only time, because we fitness, you probably know that we just take our clothes off wherever. Like, oh, you know, if someone, oh yeah, come and have a look, it's not a problem. It's something that we do. But I think it's behind, like backstage at Pure Elite, it's the only time where you pretty much half naked, you're in the best shape of your life, and it's the only time where guys don't care about how girls look and girls don't care about guys, because you're so focused and so much adrenaline that you literally can't care who's naked and who's pretty and who's hot. But yeah.
It is backstage is a strange environment for me when I go backstage, because I'm the only one wearing clothes. And I stand out. I'm the odd one out because I'm dressed. It messes with your head a little bit.
But you're used to it by now.
I have got used to it, yeah. But it is still like you look around, and after a while you're like, I'm literally the odd person out because I've got a suit jacket on.
Pure Elite words, as you are, you said that you wanted to bring Pure Elite words every year somewhere else, as in different countries. So where do you think it's going to be next year?
So originally this year, the plan for the Worlds this year, as you know, was Miami. The last weekend of August. So that was the plan. And in essence, it was purely is an English or British-based federation, but you compete there. Well, yourself, you were born in Romania. Yeah. When you're there, I would probably say, and I'm just guessing this, I've not looked at the stats, it's about 50-60% our class is born British, and then the rest either have emigrated to this country or are flying from other countries. Like we have people that fly in from Hong Kong, Australia, Brazil, just to compete here.
Yeah.
So when you start thinking about that, and it's like, for the competitors that fly in to compete, even flying in from Ireland, it's a whole different experience for them. They experience something that you don't experience. And purely a big part of it is about the experience that we're offering to our competitors. So the idea of you being able to get on a plane, fly somewhere, have that experience of competing abroad in the purely ecosphere is something that has always appealed to us. We did our first show abroad in 2015 in Estonia, and we did a European pro show twice in Estonia. So then after that, it's just been, well, at some point we need to take the Worlds, which is our biggest show. So it was going to be Miami this year. It's obviously not now. It's High Wycombe in October. So
a little bit more different.
A little bit more different. But it's close to Gatwick and Heathrow. Ideally, I would like to have next year's show abroad. That's what I'm hoping for. And ideally, I think America's always one of the first places to pick. All I need to look at is how Americans' borders are going to be this time next year. Obviously, I don't know what's going to be happening with holidays and flights and that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I want to look at, and it's something that definitely has to happen. But if not,
and they do things different anyway, like paper-wise, because we're doing Romania. And you know that it's not like in England. And I think someone who's done business abroad, they will know what we're talking about. You just go, you hire the venue, you pay the money, job done. It's no more after comes and here comes, and there is more to it, and there is taxes and VAT. It is what it is. But in Romania, and I think in Romania and other countries, it's just they keep adding it. And I think it's part of the culture. So
I had that with Miami. It was probably the worst negotiation I've ever had trying to hire in a venue, which baffled me because America is the entertainment capital of the world, and it was so difficult to hire a venue, and in this country it was so easy. But it is what it is, and that's one of the things. To be able to sit down and look at someone face to face is far easier to negotiate and to book something than when you're doing something over email as well.
Yeah.
And it even might be from their point of view, because there's intent. When I go look at a venue in England, I ring up, say, is anyone there? I will be there in 3 hours or 4 hours. Whereas,
but in England, it's always it's almost like shaking hands. It is what it is. But probably in Miami, and they don't know how serious you are. You know, even if you have an Instagram page, it's quite big, and the people they still don't think you are serious. So I can only assume. But yeah, Miami will be good. Romania, I can't wait for Romania.
People obviously want to know what other countries I'm looking at. So we were humming and ahhing between New York or Miami, and I spoke to a few people. New York is easier to get to. You're probably more than likely to get friends and family that will fly to New York, whereas Miami is like a holiday.
Yeah.
But to me, Miami seemed like more experience. Obviously, we have to look at Las Vegas. It'd be crazy not to.
Oh.
Mexico's on the agenda. And then even looking in and around Europe, like the idea of having one in Spain, like having the World Championship there would be good. Because that offers an experience for some people that don't really want to fly all the way to America. You can jump on a 3-hour flight.
I think, Stuart, fitness, it's from what I watch, because I follow a lot of athletes in Spain, in Italy. You know, we know Brazil and America, it's huge in fitness. It always has been. It's just their way of life. But then grew so much in Spain and Romania and Poland. It's unbelievable. So I think fitness all around, it's huge everywhere at the moment. And I think it will be, Pierre Elite, I think you will be even bigger. And if you can say better, you know, you'll be better.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the mindset things that to change. Because I always talk about Pure Elite's the largest fitness model federation in Europe, right?
It is, and it is the most professional one. And I can say that from my own experience. And it's not because I'm talking to you. It's because I competed with other federations, and even asking, you know, email them and asking about something, not necessarily to moan, just ask any questions that an athlete has the rights to ask after or before the comp. It takes 3 or 4 days for them to come back. It's something that it never happened with you guys. And I know how many emails you get a day, and I know you answer to all of them. So, you know, there can be other federations in UK, they're doing good. We're not slanging anyone off, but to me, you guys are the most professional, and you'll be the first federation. Even when I'm going to be in my 60, I'm gonna refer to Pure Elite as the best.
Yeah, but I think that's more where my mindset is. Even though I use we are the largest, but it's like, what does that technically mean? So I say, well, I fill out a venue with over 1,100 spectators. So to me, that's the largest. I could say we have the most fitness model competitors on stage. But in reality, my drive is, I don't necessarily, it's not the drive to have the largest. I just want the best. So yeah. If someone had more of something, because you could always argue, well, I had more shows. So if someone had more shows in a year's period, does that make them the largest? I'm just driven to have the best.
Well, best will always be the largest, because people will always come back. You know yourself how many spectators are saying, when they are there watching us and watching the athletes, what's the atmosphere in there? You know, and every year you get more and more competitors. So you are the best. This is what because you're doing your best, and it's your whole. You know, you said once to me that you've got three things in your life, the most important things, which is Pure Elite, your wife Janine, by the way, she's gorgeous, and your son Connor. So you put all your work into, you left your other work to start a business when everyone thought you're absolutely crazy by doing that. But there you go. You know, a businessman will always be a businessman. It's built in you.
Yeah, it's my hobby. It's my favorite thing to do. I'm not. People find it surprising. I don't read books, and it's something that I keep thinking about talking about a lot more. I don't read self-help books. I never read anything like that. And it first started from when I was doing sales and marketing, and I would be training people, and I would be designing campaigns. It needed to be my opinion. If I went to a meeting and I gave someone else's opinion, eventually when it gets pulled apart, because I didn't invent it, I can't back it up. So if I was talking about why we didn't make 10 million and what was the reasons behind that, if I didn't truly know, then it wouldn't work. And the same if I was teaching you to sell. If I had been trained a specific way, and then I tried to teach you to sell that way, and then you ask me a question that I can't answer, you lose. Yeah. So I don't read books. What I do read is information. Any type of information, I just absorb that information. I find it interesting, and to work that in my own brain to see how that makes sense. So whether it's to do with statistics or facts, and I study social media statistics daily. It fascinates me, completely and utterly fascinates me. But I will never read a book that someone's wrote about social media. I don't understand why anybody would.
Okay.
That's their opinion.
It's like the Bible, isn't it? Everyone understands it their own way.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas most people believe that there may be something, whether you believe in God or the universe or fate or destiny. Everyone has a sort of feeling towards something. But unless I knew the Bible 100%, if I say I believe in God and I'm Christian, which I do believe in God, but I don't know the Bible. As soon as someone starts asking you questions, they can pick holes in it, because I have to remember what someone else wrote. But if it's just my thing, and someone goes, "Oh, do you believe in God?" Yeah, I do believe in God. Oh, to go to church? No, I don't go to church. Why don't you go to church? I don't believe I need to go to church to believe in something, because I've just invented this. It's my thing. So therefore, I'm not relying on remembering someone else's information.
I don't go to church either. I believe in God. I'm a Christian, but I don't go to. To me, for example, in Romania, it's all every other step. There is a church full of like covered in gold, whatever, in all the most beautiful, costs millions of euros, and a pharmacy every other step. But yet the hospital is not done up, and they've got the most. You know, so people put the money in the churches thinking they helping God. No, God, you know, be a good person, be a kind person. That's do your bit, and that's it. If you believe in God, or people believe in universe, in Buddha. I don't believe I have to go to church. Until this day, my mom makes me go to church when I go home. And if I go with like, you know, moaning all the way, Anca, stop it. She always tells me off. I say, Mom, I'm not going to church. Job done. I pray at night. Thank you very much. I'm here. I'm healthy. I'm cool. I'm happy. God must love me then. Someone must love me. But when you do Pure Elite, there is an amateur only, or there is amateur and pure and pros together, isn't it?
So every show is an amateur show, and in some shows you have the pro division there as well. Okay.
So this is what I wanted to get. Okay. So how do you become a Pure Elite pro? The big word, pro.
Yeah, to be honest, it's quite simple. You just have to be of pro standard. And most people think that just by winning, you become a pro, which you don't. There will be people, which I think people will be shocked by this. There are many first places that haven't been awarded a pro card.
Why is that?
Because you have to be pro standard.
But then the question now they'll probably run through their heads. If they came first place, how come they didn't deserve, or second place, whatever, how come they didn't deserve a pro card as well?
The standard wasn't high enough. So for instance, yourself, you have not received a pro card just because of where you placed. You received a pro card because I deemed you to be pro standard. Mm-hmm. It's two different things. I know in some federations you're guaranteed a pro card no matter where you finish.
Yeah.
But let's put it this way. So if I enter a category and I'm the only person that turns up and I win it, should I be a pro?
Good question.
No, you shouldn't. And I think sometimes people are so fixated on becoming a pro that they sometimes forget that it's not easy, and it shouldn't be easy, and it should be.
No, it shouldn't.
On average, it takes 3 attempts at Pure Elite to become a pro. I always use Josh Blue as an example. So for those that don't know, Josh Blue is our overall male pro world champion, and he's held the title for 3 years. He didn't win the first time he competed at Pure Elite. He didn't win the second time. His actual, I think all of his shows, I think the first time he got a win was his 4th or 5th show. A lot of people that like Pure Elite are massive fans of Tom Coleman. And Tom competed at our first ever show in 2014. He came second.
Unbelievable.
These people that have these amazing physiques now have been working hard for 10
to get there.
Years to be able to get there. It's not something where you think, oh, today I'll feel like competing in April, and by April you're just a pro. To put it in the same context, it would be like suddenly waking up one day going, do you know what, I think I'm going to be a sprinter. and then next year you qualify for, like, that isn't the case. Clearly it does happen, and some people win first time, and to those people, congratulations, you're clearly someone that had an amazing physique beforehand, and you might have been a rugby player or a sprinter, or a pole dancer, whatever, gymnastics, you had the basis there. It's
they
not
probably worked hard for 2-3 years before they showed up on stage as well, you know.
It's not easy. And I use this as an example as well. So Anton won the Pro Fitness Model this year, and in November. So he's the current Pro Fitness Model World Champion. He received his pro card from Pierre Elite in 2017. When I handed him the trophy on stage at the Worlds, I actually said to him, "Oh, congratulations! You look amazing. I can't believe I've never seen you before." So, because I used to allow, if you were a pro from Miami Pro or WBFF, I would allow you to enter our pro division because the criteria is very similar. So I just assumed he was a Miami Pro. That sounds funny, doesn't it? Miami Pro.
I vaguely remember, I do remember.
But he wasn't. He won in 2017 and then took 2 years off to build his physique up, and then came back and won.
Amazing. And I remember talking about Anton, actually, because I remember you talking to Janine on the day about him, you thinking that he was in Miami Pro, and then he took 2 years off and he changed his body shape.
Yeah.
It's amazing what 2 years can do, because we're having lives with Pierre Elite, and one of the questions was how many months or how long do you take off to be back on stage, mainly to be healthy, but also to bring a different package. So you have to work super, super hard. What else?
Do you know,
ask you something.
With Anton, he didn't correct me on stage.
He didn't?
No, and it wasn't until I think it was later that day I realised who he was. It might have been that night or the next day, something. And I said to him, "I'm really sorry, I didn't know." And he said, "That's fine." He didn't correct me, and I thought I was quite impressed by that professionalism, because he could have.
Yeah.
On stage, he just won, and I was basically just like, "I don't even remember who you were," sort of thing.
Yeah.
And really just like, "Oh yeah, thanks," took it, and then didn't correct me. I was really impressed with him.
Oh, how nice. Yeah. So I know Pierre Elite has so many categories, but there is one very special, and it's called the transformation, which is very, very different from all the categories, because it has illnesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like anorexia, cancer, people, they've been obese and they've lost so much weight and go on stage. Now, when they get on stage, just to make people understand that they don't have a six-pack. Some of them do, but that's not the reason why they step on stage. And it gets me crying every single time. And I always have to remember when I'm backstage not to go and watch it, because you guys have the big their story on stage behind them, and it shows. Tell us a little bit about transformation, because you were the first one to bring it to UK, and then other federations.
To me, it seemed like a no-brainer to do the transformation, especially with Pierre Elite, because it was my own transformation that, in essence, created Pierre Elite. It was me getting ill and then transforming my body, but also my mindset, that allowed Pierre Elite to become. I think a lot of people make the mistake of transformation is just weight loss, and it isn't. There are a lot of people that go through various types of transformations, and whilst it's amazing to look at the top 1% that have got amazing physiques, they've got that, whether it be they're born with the genetics, they're born with the mindset, the determination, or whatever. Some people might have an accident, or some people might have, like you say, they might have cancer, or might have had a heart attack. We've had people that have had like triple heart bypasses. There was a guy who survived being stabbed in the heart. People that were bulimic. All these people that love fitness and go through a transformation that makes them look unbelievable, unrecognizable. Even people with mental illness. And we've had some people that have had some really, really dark thoughts and places that they've been in with mental illness, and they've transformed themselves, and picking up weights helped them. To have an outlet to show off what you have achieved and your end result, to me, just seems like it has to be with Pierre Elite. So much so that in essence it gets the prime time slot because it's at the end of the day. Which some people have asked me, why don't you put it on first? And I'm like, because it's that important. It's literally when the atmosphere is at its most heightened, when the lights are down the darkest, the music's been going just before the awards are coming out, that you get basically I don't even know how to explain it. It's just the peak of the day of the amazing individuals that deserve to be on stage with, say, someone like yourself or someone like Josh or Jade, because whilst everybody's gone through the same sort of hardship, but these are people that have, put it this way, there's probably a time when, even in your competing time, you've had a bad off season. And then when you start up again, that first week is hard, like really hard. And the second week, you're just like, why am I doing this? And then in your head, you go, it's because I did nothing for 3 or 4 months. It's my own fault. Imagine if you did nothing for 10 years or 15 years.
Heartbreaking.
Getting yourself to the gym is hard when you're at that stage. That's not easy. That takes a lot to be like morbidly obese or be bulimic, or you've had an accident, or you've got a disfigured.
Or you've lost someone, because you've had a lady that lost a daughter who competed a couple of years before that, and that was just that heartbreaking.
Like, so that's just like every day you're getting up, and what's the reason you're going to the gym? Because my daughter died, and I want to do something in her memory.
I want to feel what she felt when she trained.
Yeah, it gets me every time. It really does.
And also to be at, like for us, like young people, younger girls, to be on stage to show off, it's natural to us, because we still like to, it's an ego, isn't it? You like to show off. Yeah. But also when you get to like 50 and 60, I always say that to get on stage in front of so many people at Margate or whatever period it is, it's been held, it takes so much respect. I remember telling my boys, because when they come to watch, or you can see the young kids, if they haven't seen the six pack and the oil, they don't really know what's going on, why these people are there. So always, we always have to explain to them, if you see these sort of people, they look fantastic, but this is what they've been going through, and I want you to cheer up more than you cheer up for anyone. So they need to know, because it's not all. Sometimes there were never, I can say there were never booings at Pierre Elite, when they came on stage. But I remember people going, and just watch. And it was even the next day, because we stayed at a hotel obviously overnight, and the next day people were still talking, who, overall, whatever, who won, but then they were still talking about the transformation. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And so many people come now every year.
Yeah.
Because how many people did you start transformation with originally?
So I think the first show there were three or four females and 2 guys on the first show.
And the last show?
Over 20 females and about 17 guys.
Unbelievable.
Well, so much
very nice.
That now, as you know, the plan is to have just a transformation show. That's it. It's only people that are doing transformations. It's a show for them.
Stuart, the other day, Dino asked me it was a Body Power, and he asked people and athletes, what do you train for? Do you train for health, or do you train to look good? And everyone answered both. And it's true both, but mainly us, I think, if we're being honest, I train first of all to start my day because I feel good, and I feel good when I look in the mirror. I see things differently, and of course I want to look good. It's part of my job. My mom was always glamorous. She was always looking good. My dad was always looking good. So I think it's just I want to look good, full stop. And of course for the health. But I wanted to say that for this sort of people, they don't want to look good. They don't care if they look good. They are the people they train for mental health, and they are the people they train not to have a six-pack and not to look good, but just to feel good. So yeah, just to answer to Dean's question the other day. So yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
I do think though that on the transformation, I think you're 100% right. They all start training to, in essence, save their life. So if it's someone's overweight, underweight, or whatever, that's what on show day. they do want to look good. I've had people come up to me saying, I've never felt this amazing even when I got married.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's hard to explain to people what it's like to stand. And Margate is a big venue. It holds 1,400 people. There's not a lot of theatres that you can hire in and around this area that can have that many spectators. To stand on stage in a shiny bikini or some shorts looking the best that you've looked ever, or for a period of time or whatever, and have 1,000 people cheering at you.
That's like gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. So COVID, go away, please. We need the shows back.
Yeah. I think sometimes with Pure Elite, I forget to keep talking about the creation story, and because I spoke about it so much in the beginning, like it was all I ever spoke about, that it sort of got lost. And I'm not really, well, the ethos with Pure Elite is I'd rather talk about you, Anca, than me, basically.
Okay.
Because Pure Elite is about the athletes. As Pure Elite got bigger, I spoke less and less and less about how Pure Elite started. But I guess the other thing I would say to people is it's about like having a dream. And I had this idea to create a federation, which was unlike any other, where everyone would get treated the same. So one of the things that I did from the very first show, we don't do call-outs. Which, when I remember when I said this, and one of the judges at the first show was an IFBB pro. He had won like Mr. Universe. And I was like, oh, we're not doing call-outs. And he looked at me to be like, well, how are you going to do it then? I'm like, well, I'll move everyone around on stage, and us, the judges, will know who the top 5 are. But I don't want the athletes or the spectators to know. If I keep the athletes on stage for 2 hours, I'll keep on stage for 2 hours. We can just rearrange people so everyone can get the same experience. Because you're paying for this experience, so you're going to get treated the same. And I remember that everyone was like, well, that's a silly idea. Whereas now, I couldn't imagine doing it any other way. I was so single-minded about Pure Elite that when I say I put everything in, I literally mean that it got down to the point like 4 weeks before the first show, I'm selling DVDs to get money. I sold a car. I used to have like a keeper ring and a sovereign, which I was keeping to pass over to my son. Sold that. Anything I could, when I bolted down, I was selling it to put back into Pure Elite because I was so single-minded on it. And I remember about 4 weeks before the show, I got a call, headhunted, and it wasn't unusual for me to get headhunted. Most of the jobs I've ever got, I was headhunted or a recruitment agent called me up and said, we've got a job for you. I was relatively good at what I did in sales and marketing. So you cross paths with people, they want to employ you. And I got offered this job, which was a 6-figure salary, percentage of shares in the company, like a dream job in London, which 2 years before I would have jumped at. And I remember turning it down and talking to Janine saying, I've just turned this job down. And I've now got to sell everything. Like I'm skint. I literally was skint. Like it was, how are we going? Like literally, if that Pure Elite show didn't work out,
you would have been
nothing. Literally nothing. And then it was only something like 20 competitors had entered by that point, and it was like 3 weeks before the show. And I'm like, I can't have a show with 20. Like I'm not even paying. I've not even covered the venue cost, let alone the trophies and that type of thing. And then within a 3-week period, I got it from like 20 something up to like 88 competitors, which is how many was on the first show, which basically allowed it to just about break even. So I didn't make profit on the first show, which I was happy for because my business plan was I wasn't going to make profit on the first show. I was always,
you just wanted to get it started and
always just wanted to break even. That's what my goal was. Like get the first one, break even. And I think sometimes people forget because it looks glamorous and we're in this glamorous world, and sometimes it's easy to forget that Pure Elite is and started as a small business where it was just someone that had an idea and a dream and sold everything they owned to do it. And it took,
That's crazy.
took 13 months. That's how long I went from the idea of Pure Elite to the very first show. And the first time I probably got paid was probably, I'm going to say 19 months. 19 months, because the second show, I managed to pay myself a salary on the second show.
Insane. So yeah, dreams do come true. But just very quickly, Stewart, for people that never competed before, what is a call out?
So a call out is in a bodybuilding show. Let's imagine you've got 10 people at the back of the stage. So everybody comes out, does a T-walk or an I-walk, depending on what type of show it is. Then you stand at the back. So once everyone's done their first presentation, should we say, you then get call-outs of being who have basically qualified to the next round. So you'd go, like, you 6 people come forward, and you now know that that's the top 6. Yeah. And the judges are now working out of those top 6, who's coming first, second, third, fourth,
what's
fifth.
the order, yeah.
And if you're standing at the back, you know you've not placed. So if you're standing at the back, it's basically go home. You're no longer a part of this day of experience. But even more to that, you're standing there watching while it's happening. And when I used to always watch this happening, and again, a lot of people disagreed with me, I was lucky that I was good at sport. So I was never one of those kids when you line up against a wall and it'd be like a football pick out, you, and you're like last kid sort of thing. Well, I did see a show, and there were 6 people in the show, and they called 5 forward and left 1 at the back. Just one person. And I just thought, that's just not how I would do business, because it is a business.
One person, yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought there's a better way to do that. And some people might you've been at Pure Elite. Sometimes the show goes on. I think the latest we've left is 1 o'clock in the morning, and the earliest is, say, 8:30. So it can go on late, and the majority of the time it's down to, well, everyone's going to get, I'm not going to rush. Like, if you've paid and you've trained really hard for this, and I'm pretty sure that even at midnight when you leave and you're tired and you're going, how long the day is, in 2 weeks' time, you're going to be like, what an experience that was. Yeah,
it was, yes, for sure.
Rather than if I went around at 10 o'clock going, right, it's 10 o'clock now, we need to rush. Don't send me. So yeah,
you would ruin basically everything you worked for on that day. You would, I completely agree. Stewart, thank you very much for joining me today. As this is my first podcast, I thought I'm going to be very nervous. I wasn't. I was all right. You really helped me. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to be your first podcast.
Thank you very much. I'll see you guys later.
See you later.